describe it.
Right.
So I'm going to take a quick stab.
All right, let's go for it.
So recently in our contact center, you all are quite aware of what happens in a contact center when you call them.
I used to work in one when I was in college.
So there you go. We started building capabilities that were first principles. Let's just start listening to the conversation that's happening and start to summarize what's happening. That was a key, and that was complex, but the simplicity of that is you're just building a capability that's summarizing the call. And then what we started to do is, hey, we can start to make recommendations based on what's happening during the call. And then that recommendation, and you're right about this, like there's got to be guardrails around when you make that recommendation. How do you sort of point that out to the next workflow or back to the agent that's talking to the client? And so there is a lot of complexity in it, but there's also a simplicity too if you take it to its end result and outcome, which is the client journey when they're talking to an agent on the phone. So I think it's a good question because it is complex, but you should be able to talk about it in a simple way because otherwise your architecture starts to unwind, if that makes sense.
I mean, it goes back to knowing what you're doing and why you're trying to do it. What you just trying to accomplish that.
Right.
That's the simple part.
And if I just add to that, in the call center domain, how you solve something will be different than your other parts of the business.
That's right.
And then that's where the complexity creeps back in because
right.
you as a head of all of technology, you're still accountable for all of it.
Right.
Arvin, I have a question for, go ahead.
I want to look at complexity from a human perspective, right? So there is this inertia within us on how AI is going to be affecting our lives, how AI is going to affect how we work, and whether it is secure and trustable, right, when it comes to enterprises, right? If you look at very simple things and taking a simple example of you're asking for a question to AI and it gets an answer out to you. At this point, me, as a technology person, I just don't trust one AI. So I go ask ChatGPT, I go to Gemini, I go to Claude, and get the best of the results, right? And I take the results from here, put it in here because of hallucinations that we see from AI. I think in future, the AI is going to be more and more specialized. So we just have a big brush, which is a large language model, which is kind of tuned for the entire universe, right? In future, what's going to happen with inference is it's going to be small language models that are specifically trained for enterprise data. Because if you look at the large language models, they are trained with everything that the internet has provided, right? Once we go down that path, there's going to be specialities that are going to evolve. And our view of complexity is going to be lessened once this technology matures as well. So what I'm trying to say is like, there is this newness that comes in that increases the complexity. And at this point, the nascent stage of AI is also contributing to it.
All right, let's get to, I'm still going to stick with you, Arvin, because
Sure.
this is a question I had for you. What technologies are critical today that you think for the future people are missing or overlooking because maybe they're distracted by this other shiny thing over there and you feel like they're missing the boat on something?
As I said, infrastructure,
Okay.
right? So people, everyone in the industry, if you look at every single news out there in the industry, people are talking about two things, right? Applications of AI and the compute that enable the applications of AI, right? AI is not just one system. It's a distributed computer, which is huge, but it acts as one, right? I think a few things are underlooked and underhyped, and it's not visible externally at this point, is the infrastructure that makes all of this happen, right? The infrastructure, and I'm talking about very simple physical infrastructure, right? We talk about computers, we talk about memory, we talk about CPUs, but power, network infrastructure that kind of ties all of these things together is being underlooked quite a bit. Because what is happening today is, let's say you put a huge GPU cluster together, and you tie it in a very proprietary manner, that does not allow for heterogeneous compute to be enabled in the future. We spoke about return on investment and future proofing, right? I think it's highly critical that we focus on the infrastructure, make sure that the infrastructure that you're building today is not going to be a hurdle in the future, and it's fluid enough to allow you to interact with multiple different compute that is going to specialize, that's going to evolve specialized in the future. I think the infrastructure element is what I would hone in on. You read the news, nobody talks about infrastructure.
Or come to Momentum and listen to other panelists tell you the same thing we do. We are not overlooking how important that is. Absolutely. I'm glad to hear you say that. Did you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, could I add on top of that? I mean, totally agree, right? So infrastructure in our architecture diagram usually is the bottom one, regardless, right? But I want to mention one layer up is a data architecture. Yes. To be honest, like, you know, this is
chronic kidney disease. Proactively reaching out to them, so that AI model or an ML model gives us the right prediction. We've then embedded that within the electronic medical record and some other means to be able to get to those patients and say, hey, we think that you should consider early screening. So through this, we've doubled the number of screenings that we've done. In doubling the number of screenings, it's tripled the number of early diagnosis of chronic kidney disease. And that's getting patients 5 years ahead of when they maybe were going to be able to, or have to go on dialysis. And if you think about that dialysis patient journey, that's extremely meaningful if you can get 5 years ahead of that and even delay it further. So it's taking things like that without this technology we wouldn't have been able to do before. We kind of call those the breakthroughs, right? Something that this new set of solutions does for us that we weren't able to do because of cost or volume or something in the past. Those are surfacing to the top in terms of priority. At the same time, we've got all of our regular operational stuff that we've got to take care of the patients that are in our walls today that needs that intentional focus as well. So we've actually addressed this from top down from a C-suite perspective, and it's having some pretty meaningful impact.
That's wonderful. That's a good example, and it's clear that you all are on the stage because you're optimistic. But I would like anyone who wants to jump in on this. We've heard the word doomerism here and there, right? But that can be a little dismissive because there are legitimate concerns about what this technology is, where it's going. I'm curious how you all respond to, I'm going to put in quotes, doomerism. What are your thoughts on that? Anyone who wants to take that?
I would say,
All right, let's go.
let's not focus on doomerism because AI is here to stay. This is what happened when electricity was introduced, right? People said it's going to blow up the buildings. But actually what happened is we did infrastructure architecture to provide electricity to every building, right? So that's essentially how fundamental AI is going to be to our lives going forward. Every single department within an organization is going to have an AI wing, if you will. And there are going to be agents that are helping you, and you're going to use those agents along with other AI tools to accomplish an outcome, right? So we, instead of focusing on doomerism, we have to focus on how do we properly have an organization use AI with ethical principles included and governance in there. Security is something that is very, very important that we have to all look into. And putting some framework around how all these AI technologies are going to deliver an outcome and in a consistent manner is what I think we should focus on apart from the infrastructure builds.
Okay. Might there be some unforeseeable ethical concerns in the future that we would, as I said, unforeseeable? We don't know where it's going.
Yeah, this is why the governance is very important,
Okay.
right? So the structured governance on every single intellectual property, either that leaves your campus or that is being used to service your customers, it might be patients, right? Everything has to be governed in a manner that it's, first of all, following the ethical principles, moral principles. And we are not just taking what AI says and implementing things, right?
And I think that also goes back to what Rajiv said. It's about your company. It's not necessarily about the AI. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but am I paraphrasing that properly?
No, absolutely right. So we are human beings. Our evolution is to be worried about and concerned about the negatives. That's innate to our nature, right? So when we think about doomerism, we have to think about from whose perspective. I have a daughter going for computer science. What's the job she's going to get after she's finished her graduation? Yeah, it's a concern. I have a job. People in my team have a job to do. How's their job going to change? Yes, it's a concern. The business, our job, I mean, the first question that talks about platform strategy, talent, and measurable business outcomes, I equate that to people, process, technology. So from a measurable business outcomes, if I can get the entire organization focused on what is it that we do to add value through innovation, medicine, and I get the right talent, whether I hire or whether I train internally and develop, then I think the rest will follow. The technology will follow because with the North Star of the business outcomes and the right people, we will always have the ability to manage whatever complexity we have. And hence, then you don't leave any space for doomerism, because you can get people's mind off of the what if to what next. And that's a big mental shift. It's a mindset shift as a leader to be able to talk about that space, host it, and say, agreed, there might be a what if, but let's focus on the what next. That gets people's mind busy creatively.
All right, we've got about a minute and a half left. Who wants to wrap it up? Who wants to have a final thought?
I think that's important because that's an optimistic thing, right? People and humans are adaptable, and we've always been adaptable. And I think, as I was talking through kind of the same thing with my kids going through school, and I'd be kind of curious, how many of you are in a job that you went to college for your first year of college? Very few, right?
Yeah.
So you just think, I mean, that's not new, right? And if you think about the types of jobs that we're in now, those weren't available when we were in college. So you just have to look at it as, hey, we're human, we're adaptable. It's a little painful sometimes, but you just have to keep your head on what the future is and look at, hey, there's some really cool stuff that we're able to do to allow AI to make humans better. That I think that's the end game.
I totally agree with you. I mean, everyone right now is focused on AI technology, tooling, but humanity actually is the core of us. That's why we are here, right? So think about the way, one is acknowledge that, have empathy, right? But also protect certain parts of humanity. I think, all of you are leaders in the space. So that's probably is one of the, from my side, selfishly speaking, us in every day, put a little bit focus on that as well, not just the AI technology itself.
I think that's a wonderful way to wrap this up. Wei, Brad, Arvind, Tom, Rajiv, thank you all. That was a wonderful panel. Thank you. All right, so we are at our final editorial interview for the day, a conversation with Ms. Jamie Salter, the CEO and founder and chairman of Authentic Brands Group. And this is an interview that's going to be conducted by Reuters journalists under the Reuters Trust Principles as the panel before this one. So I would love to welcome to the stage Ariana McLemore of Reuters.
Everyone. So thanks for joining us, Jamie. We're super excited to talk about Authentic Brands Group and how you guys are using AI. Like previously said, this interview is under the Reuters Trust Principles. We'll also be taking questions from the audience. Now, how are you, Jamie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I want to kick this conversation off by asking, how close are you to signing a new deal, and what part is AI playing in that?
Well, first of all, from an M&A standpoint, AI is actually been a huge help on the M&A side. And, it's pretty funny because they try to avoid using it, right? Like, it's like, oh, we need to get another analyst or to read all these different license agreements. And I go, no, you don't. You can actually send all the license agreements, just scan them into the Authentic AI system, and tell them that you need them to do a summary of, what those license agreements sort of look like. Mm-hmm. And of course they say, no, we got to do it ourselves. We got to read them all. These are 60-page documents, and there's 40 of them, and we got to read them all. No, you don't need to read them all. Trust AI. I said, I want to ask you guys a question. Did you guys get in a Waymo lately? And they go, well, what do you mean? I mean, did you get in a Waymo? Like, there's no driver. Did you trust the car? Did you trust the car to take you from point A to point B? And of course they say, oh yeah, but that's a Waymo. I said, well, you can actually trust AI to do the summaries for you. And of course, they put them all in, And they came back, minutes later, and they showed me all the summaries. And of course, I said to them, well, how did it go? They go, oh my God, this is amazing. And the time it saved was incredible.
Great, and like you've completed some recent deals with Guess and Dockers, and I'm really curious about like this new push into hospitality and entertainment. Are you also using AI for that? And like, what would you say is your new forefront?
I mean, look, AI, okay, is a big word, and it's used for lots of different things within our organization. We really use AI to run the business, okay? So whether it's on the creative side, or whether it's on the accounting side, or it's on the legal side, or it's on the M&A side, we're continuously using AI to help us move things forward faster, better, cheaper, more accurate. But from an entertainment side, yeah, we're using it on the creative side. We actually, we just did a Dr. J commercial, and Dr. J's getting, up in age, and, it's harder to move him around. I mean, he's fine, but he doesn't like to travel as much, and, so actually getting those photo shoots done or, shooting content for him, it's harder. So we said to, because you're talking about someone that's actually alive. I mean, if they're not with us, obviously AI makes a lot of sense, like Marilyn Monroe. But we said, Dr. J, we're going to shoot the whole thing on AI. And you got to be good with it, okay? And we did it. The commercial came out unbelievable, okay? It cost 1/5, like not even, probably 10% of what it normally would cost to actually put it all together. And it's better than what we could ever do in the marketing department. So AI is clearly working from an advertising and marketing standpoint.
So in that case, were there less people working on the commercial? Because I'm really interested in hearing how AI will impact your headcount.
So I knew you would ask that question, because that's the question that everyone is always asking. Yes, let's just be blatantly honest. If you have 100 people in your organization today, or you have 500 or 5,000, but at the end of the day, could you cut your headcount by 50%? The answer is yes, but you're not going to grow, right? You're just going to cut your headcount, and your business is going to sort of just plug along. If you actually take that 50% that you wanted to cut and you put them into other places within the organization, right? There's new jobs being developed within our company because of AI. And if you actually, say, you're not going to work in the accounting department anymore, we're going to turn you from an accountant to an analyst. And we want you to actually, read all these reports that AI is putting out for us that you actually used to do. So you actually understand those reports incredibly well, but we want you to read them, analyze them, and then actually take action, okay, with the reports that AI did. So you're doing different things now where, if we didn't ask you to do that, sure, we could eliminate that job. Okay. But it's making you smarter.
So does this mean that AI is helping Authentic Brands Group lock in more deals? Because M&A is a huge part of how you guys grow.
I mean, it's locking in deals on the M&A side. It's locking deals in on the regular business development side. It's actually freeing up a lot of time. I mean, I think there's a few people in the audience here that would tell you they sit in front of their computer all day long, and all they do is just answering emails, back and forth, answering emails. What you're going to find is, you can actually have an AI agent that'll answer your emails for you. So it's freeing up a lot of headspace for people to actually sit, think, and come up with new ideas on how to grow the business, which I think, it's giving you more free time. So, could you go down to technically a 3.5-day work week? You could, or could you be incredibly more productive and your business growth will be substantially bigger because people have time to think.
And since we're on the topic of growth, you previously mentioned that you have a goal to reach $100 billion in sales. Where are you in that goal right now?
So this year we'll currently we'll do about 38 billion. That assumes no M&A. Obviously we're, very frequently buying things. Our goal will be if we pull off the deals that we're currently working on, we'll be over 50 billion by the end of this year. And, we're growing at about 35 to 40% a year. So, we should, reach that goal within the next 3 to 4 years. We told our board it would take us 5 years, but I think we'll reach it much quicker than what we anticipated. And I think that has a lot to do with AI because we can go that much faster, okay, where the team can actually, do more deals at the exact same time.
And is the AI helping you find new sectors? If so, which ones are you looking at now?
I mean, no, AI is not how, no. We know the fields we want to go into, whether, we want to be in the apparel business or the footwear business or the hard goods business or the toy business or the kids business or the consumer electronic business. I mean, we know all the different categories that we want to be in, entertainment. So no, I don't think AI is helping us too much there. What AI will do is, we have about 980 million social media followers across the entire platform that we have today. AI can actually help us when we actually look at a company and see if we actually have the customers within our social media feed, okay, of all those customers. Is this a brand that we could feed to our customers? I think that's where AI can help us.
Okay. And you've also talked about content driving commerce and how you're interested in kids brands. Can you talk to us more about that and maybe this intersection between kids and AI, which has been bubbling up a little bit?
Well, first of all, 70% of GDP is consumption at the end of the day. Got to eat and we got to wear clothes. If we're not, I guess if we lived in a nudist colony, maybe we wouldn't have to wear clothes, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So at the end of the day, why do people buy things? People buy things because it has a heartbeat, right? Yes, there's private label, but even private label today, like Kirkland is one of the biggest brands, in the United States today, which is owned by Costco. It's still a brand, right? And it stands for something. So brands, in my opinion, they have heartbeats. And the stronger the heartbeat, the stronger you will want to buy that brand. Well, how do brands actually get a heartbeat? They get a heartbeat through content. Content, okay, is given in all kinds of different formats, right? Content can be you just walking on the street and you see something. Content can be on your cell phone. Content can be on your TV, can be on a radio. Content is delivered in many, many different ways. Today, with AI, you can develop content incredibly, cheaply, okay, maybe that's not the greatest word, but it's not expensive, okay, to create content like it used to be. So, like we just did a commercial for a car company with Marilyn Monroe, and we literally created a 20-minute movie from the content that we created. It was all done on AI, and actually the movie isn't going to be submitted to the film festival, has asked us to submit it for this. I think it's the September film festival in Cannes.
So do you see...
Done on AI.
Done on AI. So do you see AI as a threat to creativity and IP? Because you're using it so much.
I actually don't. Look, AI is magic. And anyone in this room doesn't think that AI is magic, you're wrong. It is magic. You need a magician to make magic. So I can only tell you that if you're really good at making magic tricks, you're a good magician. So the stronger you are as an AI user, the stronger you are going to do with that company. And I say to all the people, we have 600 people that actually sort of run Authentic platform on a global basis. And I guess we got about 80% of the people that are really using it. Really using it. 20% of the people are not using it. So you ask yourself, okay, will those 20% really be with the company in another year? If they don't learn how to use it, they will not be with the company. It's not that they're bad people, but you know, you can't teach old dogs new tricks, right? That's the sort of what people say. Truth of the matter is, we've mandated it, okay? You have to learn how to use AI.
So that 20% is on the chopping block.
And that 20% will be on the chopping block unless they learn how to use it, because the 80% that are using it are just so much more efficient and better at their job. And the truth is, the best user of AI in our entire company is actually the oldest person in the company. So think about that, right? And I'm 63 years old, and I'm not the oldest. I think I'm the second oldest. That's scary in itself. But the truth of the matter is, the person that is, and I always ask him, I say, and his name's Henry, and I say, Henry, you're so good at this. Like, you're better than the creative people. You're better than the IT people. Like, he goes, I love it. It makes me so much smarter. Everyone thinks I'm a genius. I said, Henry, you're far from a genius. But at the end of the day, I don't want him to get too excited, okay? But I say, Henry, like, the work that you're putting out is just incredible. And it's because he's using AI. You know, we have 32 or 34 AI agents now inside our company. And that's a lot, right? But we're a user of AI. We're like really a user of it. A lot of people talk about it. We're using it to run the company. It's not like we're using it to sell it to you. We're not selling you AI. We built authentic AI on all the different, you know, on Gemini and Claude and OpenAI, and you know, we're early, right? We started 2.5 years ago. Woo, 2.5 years ago. It's like, that's yesterday. But in the AI world, it's like decades ago, right? So you have to appreciate that we started very early, but it was because we wanted to become more efficient, and we're an asset-light model. So when you're an asset-light model, you have to be incredibly efficient, because we work on a very, very low margin. At the end of the day, we only make 6% of our top-line revenue. But think about this. We make 82% net margin.
And when you talk about business decisions, a few years ago, the company attempted to go public. I'm curious, one, will we see another attempt? And two, is AI playing a role in that decision?
So number one, it was not an attempt, okay, just so we're clear. We filed to go public twice. And both times we got bought out for way more than we were going public for. We will file again soon. And I hope someone comes and buys it for a lot more money.
Okay. So I'll take a question from Slido.
By the way, don't tell anyone my secret, okay?
You talked about AI giving you time to think. Is there any argument that AI will, in time, take away the human capacity to think critically?
Look, AI is a tool.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember that AI is a tool that people use. I worry about my grandchildren more than I worry about the people that work within our organization. Are people going to think less because they go to ChatGPT for the information? I don't think so. I actually, you know, you're too young to know this, but you know that we weren't allowed to use calculators in school.
I had calculators in school.
But you had a calculator. I didn't. Just remember that.
Okay.
Right? So you're doing okay. Now, truth be told, you're not great at adding in your head. You're just not, okay? Compared to others. The older people, older generation, can add numbers in their head incredibly fast. Doesn't mean I'm smarter than you or you're smarter than me. Absolutely not. Just means you use the calculator. So I really think that AI is just a new tool in our toolbox. And I think that the amount of information that we're going to be able to put into our brain is just enormous because of how fast we can get it.
And I want to go back to the conversation of going public. What would you say would be the ideal market conditions for the company to try again?
Well, today's pretty good. I don't think, look, we're a great company. I mean, we've been around for 16 years, and we're the fastest growing consumer sort of platform in the world. We'll be bigger than Nike by the end of this year. And I can honestly say that if you put up the numbers, which, you know, we have been putting up numbers now, this is 16 years, we've never missed a quarter ever. I think we're going to do really, really well as a public company. Do I think if there's a war going on that our stock's going to go down like everybody else's? Yes. But at the end of the day, you know, there's an old expression, right? Keep your head down, focus on your business, don't focus on your stock price. And if you run a good business, your stock will follow your good business. So I think that it doesn't really matter to me too much about the market conditions. What matters to me is that we just focus on our business and we keep doing what we do every day, which is putting up the numbers.
Okay. And then I'm also curious, what guardrails is the company putting on its employees for AI usage? Like, is there anything that employees aren't allowed to use AI for?
I mean, we've never been a company that, you know, says get off social, don't do this, don't do that. We're big believers that we're all grown adults at Authentic Brands, and, you know, we hire you, and, you know, we always tell people at Authentic, this is not a job. This is a career. So if you want to come here and work here, you should come here because you want to be here, because you're having a great time, and you're making a lot of money. We don't like to hire, you know, people that don't think that way. So, you know, we are a high energy, you know, startup company, even though we've been around for 16 years and we make a lot of money, we still think we're a startup. And we're not going to change that environment, right? Authentic's a big family. It's always been a family business. Sure, I've got 600 kids, but, and we probably have, you know, a couple million people that rely on us around the world, you know, distributors, licensees, franchisees, all the different people that, you know, trade off of our IP. But at the end of the day, we're a big, happy family.
So using AI for hiring decisions is also fair game, right?
Look, I think when you hire people, I think people make a lot of mistakes when they're hiring people. You know, there's no doubt about it, AI is going to help that process. But we always ask somebody, you know, the first question that people ask when they come in to get hired is, what's your policy on work from home? That's a big question. You know what our policy is? Don't ask that question. Now, by the way, we only work from the office 4 days a week, but if they ask that question, if that's the first question they ask, let's be honest, they're not thinking about the office. They're thinking about a different work environment. And I understand there's life and there's balance, but that's not the question you really want to be, the first question that you ask, you know, coming in. I want to get a job. Can I work from home?
Okay, so I'll take the next question from
Jamie Dimon's not my brother.
How do you think about AI implementation within the brands you own rather than ABG itself? Do you attempt to influence them to adopt it across their operations?
So we're implementing AI in every single part of the company. So yes, you know, the creative side is using it tremendously, but legal's using it, finance is using it. Finance, believe it or not, who's ever in the finance, out there in finance, way to go. They actually were the first in our organization to virtually all go in. on the finance side. And reports that used to take 100 man-hours are taking 30 minutes. So, of course, what comes out of me, I go, so what do these people do for the other, 7 hours and 30 minutes during the day? But the truth is the finance department is become so efficient that the reporting is so good now that it's actually making us smarter. So they've got so much free time to actually analyze the reports that they're giving us, where they're sitting down with the different divisions and the managers and saying, did you know this? Did you know this? So it's actually, don't get rid of those people, just make them more efficient, for the company. So yeah, we're using AI in virtually all the departments.
And then I'll go back to another question. What is the biggest shift you've seen from AI at Authentic Brands within the last year?
The biggest shift is for sure on the creative side. The creativity that is coming out of the business development team, they have a new idea every 4 seconds. And the way our whole system works, because it's authentic AI, it's not on, on the World Wide Web, right? All of the brands, and we have 50 plus brands, all the brands are loaded into the system. So if you have a great idea, you're the magician, and you put that great idea into the system. Well, then a person that has a great idea similar to your great idea, but they're in Asia, they're in China, or they may be in Japan, and they go into the system, and they ask the same question that you asked, it'll build the creative deck for that particular customer. Obviously, it'll be in Japanese, it'll be in Chinese, it'll be their colors, it'll size it up to sort of their marketplace. But the AI system is getting smarter and smarter and smarter. So the amount of output that we're getting now, where it used to take us 2-3 weeks to do a proper presentation, we're going to go do a presentation at Home Depot, and it's going to be all about Shaq in, the office and office chairs and desks and this and that. That would take us 2 weeks. Now it takes 10, 15 minutes. So the speed and the accuracy is just so good. I mean, they told me I wasn't allowed to actually show stuff here today, so I didn't bring anything to show people, but you'd be blown away of how good AI is actually pumping it. But you got to, look, I'm going to continue to say you got to be a good magician, because if you don't prompt it properly, okay, you're not a good thinker, then AI will just spew out a bunch of bullshit, right? So you have to be good at your prompts, and then you have to be good at fixing where AI made the mistake. Because AI doesn't get it always exactly right, but once it's fixed, it'll never make that same mistake twice.
And you've talked a lot about AI helping with business decisions, and thinking in the context of all the brands that you own, have you used AI to allocate resources away from certain brands or to certain brands?
No, what we've done is when we're, look, the AI's traditionally in our company, forget all the services that it provides and the systems and all that it makes us faster, better, cheaper. We'll have a tendency of, again, we're the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of our brands contribute 80% of our revenue. So they get the most use for those brands. But what I'll do is I'll say, okay, that was a great idea you guys used for Reebok, or a great idea you guys used for Champion or Guess, like some of the really big brands. What about the small brands that, are in the legacy file, okay, the heritage file, that we don't pay too much attention to? Let's give them more attention. And I think that you're going to see where sort of our, I call it the legacy division, where the legacy division doesn't really grow up and it doesn't really grow down. It's like, stays like this. I think the legacy division is going to see a big uptick because they're actually doing now things with those brands. So that's like a brand like Jones in New York. So it's still a good brand, but if people don't pay attention to it and they don't actually do ads for it and campaigns, because they don't want to go spend their marketing money. They only have so much marketing money, so they don't want to go spend a lot of money to create a Jones in New York campaign, because it's expensive, right? Like, you got to remember, you spend $100, it's $50 to create the campaign and $50 to spend on, sort of the media and the marketing side. Now it's 5 cents to develop the campaign, and you spend 95 cents on actually the marketing side. So the money is going so much farther, for the brands from a marketing standpoint, and of course most of that money goes to, Facebook and Instagram and Google and those kind of places, because out at home doesn't really work that much anymore.
So you're super big on AI. I'm wondering, is there anything about the tool that you're worried about?
I mean, I'm worried every single day that, I'm going to age out and I'm not going to be able to keep up with all this new technology that is coming on. But, I try to stay ahead of it, so that keeps me up at night. And I'm, because I'm big into the IP business, one of the biggest in the world now, I really want to buy the Jetsons, because, whoever wrote the Jetsons, how did they know all of that stuff? How did they know we were going to be flying in flying saucers, and we were going to have cell phones, and we were going to be able to do FaceTime, and we were going to travel above the roadways? I don't get it, but I'm 63 and I was watching that stuff when I was 5. Right? So I don't know who that person was, but whoever they were, I want to hire them.
So my last question, Jamie, do you plan to be at the helm of the company when it IPOs?
100% yes.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean I'm going to be the CEO.
Oh, got you. Okay.
But I will be the boss.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ariana, I was waiting for you to throw him some math problems since he swears he's so good at it. Whatever. But yes, we have made it to 4 o'clock, the end of day 2.